You're listening to the Heart of Giving podcast with Art Taylor, powered by bbbgive.org. Here we explore the motivations that form the basis of giving and service. We inspire generosity and celebrate the transformative effects that giving and service have on the human spirit and on community. The conversations featured on the podcast also uncover giving strategies that educate and provide tools to help listeners make impactful gifts of both their time and money. We hope you enjoy this episode.
This is the Heart of Giving podcast, powered by bbbgive.org. Give.org is the nation's standards-based charity evaluator, and it's your one-stop source for information on giving and reports on the most asked about charities. I'm Art Taylor. Today, my guest is Ben Erwin, who is the CEO of Charitybuzz. And we're going to find out all about the work that Charitybuzz does and a little bit about Ben's background too and how he connected with this work. Ben, welcome to the Heart of Giving podcast.
Thanks, Art. Great to be here.
So Ben, tell us a little bit more about Charitybuzz. What does it do? How is it created? What's the scope of work?
Yeah, so our mission at Charitybuzz is to deliver the most unique and exciting inventory opportunities on the internet for good. We specialize in providing exclusive access to celebrities, athletes, musicians, events, destinations, cool collectibles and inventory. Uh, Really a curated marketplace for people to live out their wildest dreams while also getting a chance to support terrific charitable organizations. The impetus was trying to figure out new ways to increase the amount of dollars that are going to the charity sector by leveraging technology, pop culture, and a little bit entrepreneurship. So when the business first started over 15 years ago, it was just the simple notion of there's so many incredible experiences and opportunities that are offered in ballrooms with four walls and a limited audience. What if you were able to market and expose a lot of these experiences to a stadium full of qualified, affluent, philanthropic individuals? You would end up raising a lot more money and really embracing what I believe is the fundamental purpose of technology and the internet, which is distribution. And that relatively small idea has turned into something much bigger. We're not just auctions anymore. We do sweepstakes. We have a store. We have a private members club. But everything is still rooted in that idea of compelling people to give more by offering them up really exciting and fun experiences. And it's helped us generate over $500 million of incremental funds for thousands of charities. And we truly believe we've still only gotten started.
So what are some of the more well-known organizations, I guess, that you've supported through Charitybuzz?
Yeah, so one of the beauties of what we do is organizations from all shapes, size, scope can benefit from working with us. So we work with volunteer only organizations that maybe have a $50,000 a year budget to St. Jude, Leukemia Lymphoma Society, Why Hunger, you name it. So it really runs the full gamut of the entire charity sector because we're able to figure out different ways to help these organizations achieve their fundraising and awareness goals through our various platforms and sales channels.
Cool. So how does it actually work? Take me through sort of an engagement.
Yeah, so when we engage directly with the charity, we've got a great team here. So they may be doing some prospecting and notice that a specific charity has certain supporters, board members, sponsors that we believe can be leveraged in really exciting ways. And for most of the time, it's in ways that that charity has never thought about leveraging that asset or resource because they've never had a platform and an audience like ours. So we kind of provide a consulting engagement, so to speak. It's a discovery process of showing them that a lot of these people who already support them can become really powerful fundraising vehicles by offering up their time or access versus only having to write a check. and then the charity goes out, secures those experiences, and then we end up marketing, producing the pages, processing payments, supporting the fulfillment um, across the different sites and platforms. So it all started with the idea of celebrity experiences. So dinner with George Clooney, go to Cher's home in Malibu and hang out with her for a cocktail party. And while that still remains a humongous part of what we do, and those are actually two examples of campaigns we've done over the past 6 months, that limits the amount of charities that could really work with us, because how many organizations have true meaningful relationships with A-list celebrities?
Celebrity.
So we're always thinking about what are different ways that we can get more charitable organizations to be able to work with us. So I'll give you two really good examples. One is business experiences. So we found out in a really exciting way that the chance to spend time with a CEO, with a fund manager, with a titan of industry actually has the potential to raise more money than a celebrity experience. The beauty is most charities have relationships with business leaders. That's typically who comprises their board. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an opportunity for them to reach out to an existing supporter who doesn't realize that their time may be worth quite a bit of money in a fundraising environment.
Mm-hmm.
And they can then take that supply that's currently not being utilized, and then we can provide the demand. Another example is, as we were talking before we started recording, golf. So
Mm-hmm.
I think unsurprisingly, golf's a really popular category for us given the affluent demographic of our audience. So we work a lot with organizations in New York where we're headquartered. So you go into a room, a silent auction, a live auction, they may offer up the chance to go play at a popular Northern New Jersey, Westchester, or Long Island golf club. But the people in the room aren't going to spend that much money. They're either members or their buddy at the table next to them takes them out, every other Thursday for a round of golf. You put that type of opportunity at a top 100 course in front of an audience that's looking to get access to some of the great golf clubs and courses in our country. You take something that may raise $1,000 to $2,000 in your standard charity event, and you get $10,000 to $15,000 when you pair it up with the right audience, demand, and platform. And that's a really good representation of what we do. It's multiples of the amount of money that organizations are already raising. It's complementary to what they're already doing, and it's to ultimately increase the size of the pie, because fundraising in this country is going down when adjusted
Yep.
for inflation. We've seen it the past 2 years. And I don't think enough people are talking about how scary the 23 numbers were, because we had a really strong stock market. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that might be the first time that giving was down adjusted for inflation with double digit gains in the S&P 500. So it's clear to me that we have to be thinking outside the box on top of what we're doing inside the box in order for us to increase the amount of money going to charities and be sure that we're funding these organizations who are tasking with solving kind of the world's most complex problems.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that you are also helpful in building the audience for the particular event. Let's say it's an opportunity to play golf with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Um, what is it that you do, I guess, to help generate interest in that particular opportunity?
Yeah, we have our own customer base. So, you see a lot of marketplaces or even online auction software providers in the charity space that give you the tools to run a campaign,
Right.
but you're still marketing it to your existing donor base. And we know how
Absolutely.
big of an issue fatigue is amongst the fundraising space. We have about 300,000 registered users. These are
Wow.
customers who are loyal to Charitybuzz, affluent, philanthropic, socially conscious, and want to do a bunch of wild and cool stuff. So they're really using Charitybuzz to shop, to bid, to buy, to enter. They love the fact that a portion of everything they're doing supports charitable organizations, but that's not necessarily what's driving their purchasing decisions. They may say, "Hey, I'm the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan in the world. There's a chance to meet Bruce Springsteen. I never knew this was possible. I'll spend 50, 100, $200,000 to be able to live out my dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then the charity ends up getting to benefit from that purchase and that large sum of money. And then in a lot of cases, what will happen is the charity will do a really good job of closing the loop with the winner, letting them know that, hey, we, the food bank of New Jersey, for example, are the reason why you are able to have the greatest night of your life meeting your idol. But that money that you spent not only got you that great picture and memory, it helped feed a million families. We'd
Mm-hmm.
love to educate you more about the work that we do, our unique approach to solving food security and hunger problems throughout our state. And perhaps they end up donating more money to them over the years and they're able to cultivate a new relationship and donor as a result.
Fascinating. Now, you talked about the marketplace. Give me a little bit more insight into how that works and how you've gotten people, I guess, to bid, is it? So where do the items come from and what are they bidding on in that?
Yeah, so the items come from the charities based on our advice and approach to kind of guide them to what should be secured.
Mm-hmm.
We produce quite a bit of content and educational materials to kind of guide our partners of what they should be out and trying to secure. That would be a good fit for the marketplace. We're
Mm-hmm.
paying a lot of attention to consumer trends and behaviors to take advantage of moments in time where a certain type of inventory or experience is over indexing in terms of purchasing behavior so that we can take advantage of it and funnel some of those dollars into the charity sector. We're building, and what we've built is an e-commerce platform. So there is the opportunity to bid in our auctions, which is our biggest channel. We
Mm-hmm.
have a store where you can just click and buy if you don't want to wait for, a 2 week auction to conclude. We have a sweepstakes business where you're able to donate a small amount of money for the chance to win something incredible. And then we have a private members club called Access, where probably about like 8 to 900 of our most valuable customers are able to request experiences that aren't available online
Mm-hmm.
and create more bespoke packages. So for us, it's always going to be centered around this idea of unique and exclusive inventory. But there's so many different ways that we can leverage that across different sales channels to appeal and capture the largest percentage of the population and figure out a way to funnel more and more money into the charity sector.
So give me an example of some products that you might find in the marketplace.
Yeah, so it ranges and it changes every day. So I would urge
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
everybody to sign up for our newsletter because we're adding new inventory every day. You could go to SNL in the after party for the upcoming season. You could have dinner with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Bradley Cooper, Cher, Charlize Theron. Those are all things we do from time to time. You could sit down with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or maybe present your business plan to the head of a big venture capital firm. You could get
Interesting.
a private vacation properties in far off exotic places. You can go play golf at courses on the top 100 list. They, usually have their gates closed until you come to Charitybuzz, and they will open for you with open arms. Collectibles. That was really a big boon coming out of COVID, where we saw the collectibles market really grow in influence. So, autographed memorabilia, uh, game used jerseys,
Mm-hmm.
instruments, you name it. It really, really, really runs a pretty extensive and diverse kind of catalog, but it all is again centered around like it's unique, it's compelling, it makes people smile, and we know that's what drives people to spend more money, which is the ultimate output of the organization.
Yeah. You mentioned sweepstakes. How do they work?
Yeah, so we'll work in some cases with influencers, personalities, or celebrities that have massive fan bases.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, somebody may spend 25, 50, $100,000 to meet them, but there's also the chance to perhaps get 100 to 500,000 of their fans to each give $10. So
Right.
I think of it as a platform to mobilize a fan base for good. You're still compelling them with an incredible experience. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
bring them backstage at your finale of your tour, and you're going to hang out and play guitar together. So that's kind of what brings people in, all to support an organization they believe in. So they're kind of connecting with their fan base, but you're not asking them all to spend humongous amounts of money that frankly they probably don't have at their disposal.
Sure.
So by
Yeah.
using a sweepstakes platform, we bring the minimum entry down. It's a random choice, but it has the ability to raise a much larger amount of money if the correct ingredients are in place.
And what are those ingredients just mentioned?
Usually like an engaged following on social media or through some other channel because you need a way to be able
Connect.
to very instantly engage and connect with them in an authentic
Mm-hmm.
way. So I'd say the core really is like the talent, the celebrity, the influencer to have a real commitment to the cause and the campaign, a compelling grand prize. Um, and really that's it. If we can
Mm-hmm.
get those ingredients together and the numbers make sense in terms of the size of the fan base, the engagement with the fan base, we've had campaigns that have raised many, many millions of dollars over a very short period of time. Again,
Mm-hmm.
all through compelling people to give because everyone wants to experience things today. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think 7 out of 10 consumers today value experiences over stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and when it's once in a lifetime, you create the urgency of like, enter or bid now, or it may never be available to you again. So that's
Yeah.
what drives higher conversions, and that urgency allows us to raise more money.
Now, how are you able to get paid yourself? Are you getting paid as a percentage of what comes in, or does the charity have to pay you up front? How
Yeah,
do
it's
you
a
get?
rev share model. So we only win when the charity wins.
Okay. So as the charity gets to a certain amount of revenue, then you're going to get what you get out of that.
Yeah, we process it all. So we're a professional fundraiser registered in
Hmm.
all 40 or 41 applicable states. So
Hmm.
everything
Okay.
comes through us, gets sent directly to our donor advised fund, which is independently governed and run,
Hmm.
and then remitted as a charity to charity grant, less fees to the end beneficiary or charitable organization. So everything's done
Okay.
in compliance.
Hmm.
So everybody is protected against all the different regulations that exist on a state by state basis.
No, it's a fascinating concept. How long have you been around?
15 years.
15 years. Okay. So you're right in that we need to think about how we can get people to give. Uh, we just finished an activity with an organization called the Generosity Commission, and we were looking at why so many families left giving to nonprofit organizations to wealthy people. And it's really remarkable when you look at we're at 49.5% a couple years ago, but 20 years prior to that, we were at 66.5% of families giving. So it's a real decline. And you're right to also mention that we've seen a slight decline last year in the amount of money actually received by charitable organizations. So those are two real concerns. We're hopeful, though, that we'll figure out ways of getting the everyday donor back in the mix. But there is this need now, immediate need, I think, for us to continue to inspire wealthier people to give to charitable organizations. It looks like your organization is one way to both get them to give something through your platform, but also maybe to have an organization engage with them later on, which is kind of exciting because once you get them interested, then you don't need the event so much. They're interested in the cause, maybe, and then they'll continue to support the organization. Have you seen that occur much through your platform?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen every time. A lot of it is
Hmm.
dependent on the charitable organization doing an
Hmm.
effective job closing the loop. But my
Yeah.
favorite example, because I have recency bias, is
Okay.
I was recently in LA at a conference, and the CEO and chairman of Project Angel Food came up to say hello. We work with them really closely, and they years ago had sold 2 tickets to Hollywood Bowl on our site for a few $1,000. So not a ginormous amount of money, but $3,000 is still can still feed quite a few families in Los
Hmm.
Angeles. So they decided to go to the Hollywood Bowl, wait at will call, and hand deliver the tickets to our winner and just let them know that the concert they were about to enjoy helped feed X number of families in Los Angeles.
Mm.
That winner ended up the next year making a 7-figure donation to Project Angel Food and joined their board.
Wow.
And I know who
Fantastic.
the winner was. He wouldn't have known about Project Angel Food without us sitting in the middle and through the lens of an experience or a fun, cool opportunity, then gets the exposure to an organization who allows their impact to speak for itself and therefore compels people to give. So
Hmm.
it's the way I think about it is giving as a percentage of GDP has not
Hmm.
changed in the last 50 to 60 years in this country since they first measured it. It's 2.5, 2 to 2.5% of GDP is given to charity. Yet the
Hmm.
number of charities in this country during that time has increased by 40x. So I don't know how we
Yeah.
expect charities to be able to continue to maintain their programs, scale their impact if the
Yeah.
relative size of the pie has not changed. So I think at
Yeah.
first when you hear that stat, you're shocked. How can that be? Every generation is more charitable than the last.
Mhm.
But if you start really like peeling back the layers, it's not a surprise. Has there
Yeah.
been a lot of innovation in the world of fundraising over the past 50, 60 years? No. It's we're still doing a lot of the same work. We're
Yeah.
still really focusing on this idea of like giving me money, donating. No, we're investing in solutions to really complex problems. And then there's this other notion within the charity sector, which is like, should I do this or that? And I believe it has to be a this and that conversation. That two and a
Sure.
half percent, let's continue to do it. It's important.
Yeah.
It's how we're like fostering relationships and donors. We got to figure out other ways to supplement it. And there's humongous amounts of money exchanging hands in this country across the board. And we need to figure out ways to grab a piece of it and send it to charity. So then you're either compelling people to give who otherwise wouldn't give, or probably more likely, you're compelling people to give more than they already were giving. Because most, especially affluent households, are going to plan the amount of money they give every year because their tax account tells them how much to do, and maybe they have other personal reasons or connections to give to certain organizations. How do we take that and how do we double it? And that's
Yeah.
really one of the things we're thinking of is this doesn't come out of the the charity giving budget. This comes out of the discretionary, non-essential, it's my wife's
Mhm.
birthday, it's our anniversary budget. It's
Yeah.
discretionary. And that becomes exciting because there's a lot more money in those discretionary budgets than there are in the charity budgets. So let's figure out a way to get some of that over into the charities. And that's how we
Hmm.
can start seeing some real change in terms of the amount of money being donated.
Now, how were you able to get so many people on your platform? I think that's amazing that you're able to, because that's fundraising in and of itself. That's curating a list of wealthy people who are predisposed to either purchase or acquire an experience through you. That's serious in a sense, donor engagement in a certain sense of the word. Because a lot of institutions use different tactics to get people to give. They'll say, come to us and you can put your name on a building or, a wing of a hospital. And that's serious long-term development work to get that to happen. And they're talking about multi-million dollar gifts. You're talking probably in the ranges of 5 to 6 figures in some cases, maybe a little less. But still, it takes a fair amount of engagement to get people to regularly check out what you're doing and then maybe to look at an opportunity and say, this is what I want to do, not only for me, but to help an organization. So it's pretty remarkable what you've been able to do. I'm just curious how you've gone about. What are some of the tricks that we might? I know you can't give away all your secrets because you don't want to be moved by competition, but I think there's something maybe for organizations to learn who use you in addition to some of the things that they're trying to do internally.
Yeah, for us, we're a supply and demand marketplace. So supply attracts the demand. So the more really cool, unique, and awesome experiences we can get on the site
Hmm.
drives better engagement, earned media, referrals, people coming to the site.
Got it.
And then the more people that come to the site who then compete more in some of our best sales allow us to drive more supply. So it's like this never ending balancing game because you can't
Yeah.
overburden one side or the other. But I
Right.
do think in terms of how more charitable organizations, and we're seeing more and more of this, which is I think a really promising sign is we operate as an e-commerce company, so there's all sorts of acquisition strategies across different channels. There's a whole
Hmm.
separate set of retention strategies. We're using attribution models. We're very, very, very heavy in the world of data analysis to really understand the value of a new customer, how much we should spend to try to acquire them, what we need to do to
Hmm.
increase their lifetime value, retain them at a higher rate. All of those tools, tactics, and approaches that I just mentioned apply directly to donor cultivation and
Sure.
retention.
Yeah.
The content we're providing is the stuff that we're offering because that's who we are and that's our mission. If you're a charitable organization, it's going to be all around the impact that you're having. What's the organization accomplishing? How are they uniquely approaching the problem? What's their strategy to provide more support or services into the space that they're focused on? And then they
Hmm.
can look at the same funnel that we do. Um, I just think for us, what I love about what we do is we're truly just trying to complement what these amazing fundraisers and development professionals and organizations are doing. We want you to continue to say, here's our cause, here's our target audience. How do we maximize engagement with this audience? Because it's a finite audience for most organizations, maybe geographical or cost. We're saying let's let's use this power of experiences and dreams and like imagination to get all of these new people in who will end up spending a lot of money that we will funnel to the charitable sector, but the intention of why they're spending the money is different, and that's why it's complementary, and that's why it can be added on top of what the organizations are already doing,
Hmm.
and that ultimately increases the size of the pie.
Well, Ben, we're getting to the end of this, but I do want to hear your story about how you got connected to this work. You were one time, I think you mentioned, you were telling me you were selling golf equipment, and now suddenly you're doing this. How did you make that connection? What was it that drove you to this?
Yeah, so like giving back or community like service was always something that was part of my upbringing. My mom was a teacher, my dad was in the Navy, so I like to think that it was just kind of part of my upbringing.
Hmm.
But I was a naive teenager into young adulthood where I went to college for the sole purpose of being a lawyer. I went to GW, said I'll study political science in the nation's capital, I'll become a lawyer, and that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I got exposed to lawyers, and I realized I didn't want to have my entire life revolving around billable hours.
Yeah.
So I just decided I'm just going to go find the job where I can make the most amount of money because that's why you work, right?
Yeah.
Naive, ignorant. And I remember there being almost like a fork in the road when you graduate college. Like, go make a bunch of money, maybe give some of it back, or go work at an NGO and you're not going to make that much money. And that's kind of the decision you have to make. And I said, well, I'm
Yeah.
going to go make a bunch of money. And about 1 year into it, I was working in DC for a company called Corporate Executive Board in sales. So you kind of like eat what you kill. I was doing well, but I was empty. Like I wasn't motivated. I wasn't happy. I went to, what time is it? Can I get out of here? I just realized like if this is the next 40, 50 years of my life, I'm going to be pretty sad and miserable.
Yeah.
So I left. I ended up working for Callaway Golf, and that was passion because I'm a golf nut. So I was doing something I loved, but there was still something missing. So I was doing some soul searching, moved back to Connecticut where I grew up, and Charity Buzz was there. It was just an idea with a couple people. not really a business. And to me, it was like those two paths I mentioned when I graduated college coming back together was for profit, capitalism, growing, but like what I'm doing matters. Like if Charitybuzz isn't here, hundreds of millions of less dollars go to charity. So that's all I need to compel me every day to be super engaged and motivated about what I do, because what we do matters. It just so happens to be really fun. It just so happens to be a for-profit business, but we get exposed to so many incredible people, both on the charity side with these leaders who are just committed their lives to doing like incredibly impactful stuff, these generous customers, and then that allows me to attract a pretty awesome employee base because we all share the same need for purpose. Um, and that makes creating a cohesive team and culture a lot easier than having to manufacture it based on something that isn't like core to the business.
Well, Ben, let me thank you for coming on and sharing both your story and that of Charity Buzzes to our audience. And it's fascinating to just see how this has grown and come into to be a thing, given that we do have real needs to generate money for nonprofit organizations. And yours is a creative and innovative way of doing that. And so I just want to thank you. And to all of our listeners, many of you may be listening for the first time. I want to encourage you to subscribe to the show. You can find us on all major podcast platforms. And I hope you do. If you want to support the podcast, you can do that by going to give.org and making a donation. And we will certainly put that to great use. Thank you for listening.
You've just listened to the Heart of Giving podcast with Art Taylor. Be sure to tune in next time for a brand new episode. To listen to our other interviews, visit heartgiving.podbean.com. That's heartgiving.podbean.com. Subscribe to our show on major podcast platforms. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are the views and opinions of the guests, not those of the BBB Wise Giving Alliance or program affiliates. This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and is copyrighted with all rights reserved. This podcast is protected by Podbean's terms of service.